Everything looks green and it seems to be working correctly. Let's see if it actually holds up. So, it's finally here. I mean, the Phantom has been a really, really great friend. I almost lost it several times. Somehow, it held up. It never fell in the water. I mean, it still works perfectly, but the biggest problem is because it's so big and so bulky, it's hard to take with me on adventures, especially kayaking. It just barely fits in there. It just barely fits in the hatch. And then when it does, there's barely any room around it. I can't really pad the kayak, so that means I can't knock it around too much. I can't be bumpy. I have to be really, really careful. And I can't take a lot of gear if I'm taking the drone. So there's been many, many times that I wanted to take it with me, but it just didn't line up. And it was kind of a pain in the butt. And then GoPro came out with the Karma, DJI came out with the Mavic, and I've been waiting since October, watching, learning, seeing what was going to happen. And let me just stop for a second and say, if you're joining me, you can type into the live chat and we can chat that way. So this could be completely interactive. We can talk back and forth. So I'm seeing it right here. Anyway, so this is the Phantom 3 standard. So from the 3 series, which is 2 versions older, and this was the entry level, the standard. So it came with a 2.7K camera, which was more than enough. It had beautiful video capabilities. But the tough thing is its size. It's just really, really bulky. Taking all the equipment, it's just really big. I mean, here, I'll pull the backpack. I'll show you. It was right behind me the whole time. Anytime I wanted to go somewhere with it, I'd have to go hiking with this on my back. And it's so blatantly obvious that I had a drone with me. And it's not very heavy, but it's you need to really be dedicated to knowing you're going to get some aerial footage if you're going to take all of this on top of your camping gear, your hiking gear, whatever you're taking. And while I absolutely love the footage I was able to get with the Phantom, the one thing I've always wished it was smaller. But none of the smaller drones would give you really good quality with video until the GoPro came out with... Wait, are there... No. So guys, if you're watching right now, feel free to write into the chat room. I think if you scroll down a little bit, you'll see it, and you could also pop it out if you want to and just have it as a window next to the main window. And that way we can actually talk back and forth. We can have a discussion about whatever is going on. Anyway, so GoPro came out with the Karma, and that was amazing when I saw that for the first time. Everything folded, smaller backpack, and the GoPro is an amazing camera. But then DJI announced the Mavic the same week, and it was so exciting because not only was it smaller, right? The Mavic looks absolutely ridiculous. So, nice to see you again, Fleck Kayak. It's crazy that I just remember when I saw how small it folded. I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. What I was saying is, GoPro makes absolutely amazing cameras. The quality of their cameras is absolutely astonishing. All the way when they were one of the pioneers in the beginning, and now everyone has made an action camera. They're all very good. Sony just came out with an absolutely astounding one that I think might actually beat the Hero 5. We'll see what happens, but the new one is... The new Sony camera is absolutely stellar. The Hero 5 is amazing too, but I really kept thinking, GoPro knows their cameras, DJI knows their drones. And I was thinking, if DJI were to come out with something that folds up around the time the Karma came out, it was going to be a very, very tough decision to make that. And then they came out with the Mavic Pro, and I remember just the very first time I saw the video, I just thought, that's absolutely incredible. It can't be real. And then the amount of new gizmos that they put into it, being able to tell if there's obstacles in the way going forward and below, which is one of my biggest concerns. Whenever I would fly this and I wanted to be in the shot, I'd have to do what's called point of interest, where you set it up to go in a circle, but if for any reason something gets in the way or I screwed up while I set it up, it could easily hit something. And it also wouldn't know, like let's say it's doing a circle and it's just getting really close to the beach, and I just didn't think ahead, it would just crash right onto the beach because it can't tell what's directly below it. It was up to me to try to think of all of that before I did anything for it to fly autonomously. Now for the Mavic, they put sensors on the bottom so it can tell. So technically, it should be able to tell if it's getting too close to the water or too close to the beach or too close to anything, and raise itself up automatically. So when I saw that, I was salivating because I thought if I can take that while we're kayaking, I'm not going to have to worry anymore about that kind of stuff. Of course, I'm going to worry about losing it in the water, but then again, if you don't risk it, you're not going to get really wonderful shots. That's part of how it goes. Once again, I'll repeat, if any of you guys want to interact, the chat room, which I think is towards the bottom of the page, you can write to that and I can talk to you guys that way. Anyway, so when it came out in October, I thought I'd hold off. I'd see what the masses thought about it, if it really held up to how good it seemed to be. And then people were saying it really is that good. Of course, there's a lot of people that disagreed, and there were some people that didn't think it was as good as the hype. But overall, the consensus was this is one of the best drones made, mostly because of how versatile it is while having a 4K camera on it. And for me, it's more important how easy it is to travel with it than I am pretty new to kayaking and I have a 3-day trip coming up on flat Class 1 water. I have a wilderness system, Tsunami 140. Do you think a spray skirt is necessary for this type of paddle? No, absolutely not. Where are you going to be paddling? When you say Class 1, are you saying you're going to be on a river? Okay, so in October I waited, and now it's been many, many months later. The holidays came and went. I told all of my relatives that this was the only gift I wanted for the holidays, and they helped me out, and here it is. Oh, and if anyone is trying to get one, but it seems to be Lower Colorado River. Okay, so that's very wide, right? At that point, just the only reason I'm asking is because the Tsunami 140 is definitely more of a touring sea kayak, and although because it's only 14 feet, you can easily maneuver it. It's still not something that, especially if you're new to kayaking, I would ever take in a river. Flat, calm, slow-moving water, especially if it's very, very wide where you're going, absolutely you could paddle that. And what's really nice about the Tsunami and other sea kayaks, yes, wide, okay, great. What's really nice about the Tsunami is you have a front hatch and you have a rear hatch that are airtight. So if for some reason something happens and you take, sorry, I'm looking at the chat instead of the camera. So if for some reason something happens and you start taking in water, only the cockpit will fill up with water and you will stay afloat. That's one of the beauties of sea kayaks, is you can be completely full of water in the cockpit, but there's enough flotation in the front and the back of the kayak to keep the kayak floating. So especially if it's going to be really calm, peaceful waters, you should be just fine. But please, please stay away from any fast-moving water because you won't be able to control the kayak well. That's where you need whitewater or rafts that can easily maneuver and get out of trouble. With a sea kayak, you just can't do that. And if you're new to kayaking, sometimes it's also better to kayak without a spray skirt because it gives you a little bit more of peace of mind that if you fall out, you can easily get out of the kayak. You don't need to worry about pulling the skirt and getting out. Usually skirts are more for if you know there's going to be wind, if you know there's going to be waves, whatever. And if it's going to be extremely calm conditions, you don't really need a skirt. But one other thing to remember, if it's going to be warm and you're not wearing a skirt, a lot of times it's easy to get sunburns on your legs because you usually have stuff all over the place, and then the sun actually hits your legs if you're wearing shorts. But I'm guessing, what's the temperature like right now in Arizona? Is it cold? Because if you're a new paddler, do you know, are you aware of all the dangers of cold water? I hope you will dress appropriately for cold water if it is cold right now. I'm not sure what the temperatures are like, but by where we are in the Northeast, pretty much water is getting, I think it's about to dip under 40 degrees. It might go into the 30s, and the temperatures, we were having single digits recently. So please, please, please dress for submergence. Dress for the water temperature more than anything. Don't go anywhere there's fast-moving water with a sea kayak. Other than that, I think you should have a fun time. And if it is really cold, don't go alone, especially if you're new at kayaking. I have a video, if you look at my feed, where I talk about the dangers, and one of the things we usually recommend with cold water paddling is paddle with a group of at least 3 people so that if something happens to one, the second person can help the person that's injured, and then the third person can either help them get help, or they can go and get help and come back. So, alright. Back to the Mavic. If you're thinking of getting one, and you see that it is pretty much sold out everywhere, and I put an order in on Amazon once I knew I had made my decision, and then I started researching, and people were saying, don't get it through Amazon. They keep pushing things out because DJI is actually not shipping stuff directly to Amazon yet. They are supplying it to their, I think, I can't remember what they were calling it, but it's like their direct resellers. And I think in the US, it's B&H, Apple, and average daytime. Sorry, I keep going back and forth, but the live chat is, I think, a great way for us to just all talk while we're going. So, let's see, average daytime temperature 65, water temperature 50-55. I was planning on wearing a wetsuit booty splash skirt. I'm watcher perfect. My buddies don't think wetsuit is needed. So, when water is in the 50s, that could get cold. I get really cold, but I'm very skinny. And I've been trying to educate them on dressing for the water temperature, not air temperature. Absolutely. And at least the good thing is if you're going to be paddling with a group of buddies, that means safety is going to go up because there's more of you. We usually think, and I mean, we've been through it. I've done classes where we spent most of the day in the water, and the water was even in the low 70s or high 60s. And if I knew I was going to spend the entire time in the water, I was wearing my dry suit or I was wearing very thin wetsuits because I get cold very quick. And if the chance of me being in the water when I'm paddling is there, then I'd rather just be a little warm when I'm paddling, but know that if I fall in for any reason, I can hang out, I'm good. I lose my kayak, I can call for help and swim wherever I need to. That's just something that I feel. Oh, thank you, sir. I am a huge advocate for safety, and water temperature is a huge one. And for me, I am really slender. I get cold quick. I'd rather just be dressed for immersion. Anyway, back to the Mavic. So, if you're trying to get it, of course, thanks for the question. So, for anyone that just joined, the live chat, I think it's below on the page. We can interact while this is going. That's what's awesome about a live feed, and we can just discuss whatever you guys want to. I'm just excited to be going through this, and I can't believe I spent, let's see, 15 minutes, and I haven't even opened the box yet. But I did want to say this one other thing. So the research I found was, as I was trying to get people that even ordered from Amazon really early on last year, the orders keep getting pushed back because DJI is applying to people that order from DJI first, and then their direct resellers, and then Amazon and others. So, um, so what I did is I put a notice, something that would alert me if it became available in any of the sites: Apple, Best Buy, B&H, and DJI itself. And I did it with here. Let me look up what the name of the app, what the name of the website was, and it's called nowinstock.net. I set up an account with them. I said which websites I wanted it to look for. I said what product I wanted. So I wanted the Mavic Pro by itself, no extended anything, because the other thing I was reading is that you have a better chance of getting the Mavic if you got the thing itself and then all the other accessories separate, because something was going on and the packages that had more stuff altogether were not being pushed as quickly as if you just ordered the drone itself. So I got the notice, I think. Oh, I just had it open. I got the notice this last Thursday. I woke up and I had the notice in my inbox saying it's available on DJI. I logged into DJI, put in my order. It is now Wednesday, so tomorrow's going to be Thursday. It took 1 week from when I got the alert, and it was just delivered. So I keep hearing of so many cases where people are waiting and waiting and waiting, or they don't know when it's going to be in stock. So what was it called? Nowinstock.net, alert. I got the alert a couple of days later after I set it up. I think I set it up on Monday. By Thursday, it told me it was in stock, and then the next Thursday, here it is. So if you're waiting for that, use that service. It was great for me. Yes, the drone can follow you, which should get some awesome shots. That is one of the main reasons I really wanted the Mavic, because I almost never get to be in the picture. I'm always on the shore controlling it, especially if I'm flying over water. I'm always worried about it moving autonomously. This one has absolutely no sensors. And so I'm really excited that the Mavic Pro has sensors underneath, and hopefully I can just get it to follow us, paddle for a little bit, and then make it come back and land somewhere else. All right, enough talking. I think it's time to open this guy up. It's ridiculously small. This looks like a toy. I mean, I've watched probably every video I could find on YouTube of people unboxing them, using them, giving you instructions, tutorials, whatever. And I kept imagining how small it should be, and it's really freaking small. What can I compare it to? Here's the Phantom. I don't know if that's a good way to compare it. Let's see, what can I use to compare it? How about here's a large DSLR that I usually use for all my videos. It's smaller. It is smaller. It's about the same size as this Canon DSLR with a 1635 zoom lens. That is bananas. Well, really, this is what I was most excited about. Being able to take it with me. This is going to fit so easily into any dry bag and then just go in any hatch. Not only that, what I'm thinking of doing is actually, this is a big one. I should have brought one. I have several camera bags. This is way too big. Just using one of my small camera bags and dropping it. Look at that. It's insane. If you have any other questions, please type right into the live chat. I have it up so I can keep track. I can interact with you guys. All right, so let's open it up. I really, when I saw the very first video when this launched, because they were obviously going after the Karma, I just kept thinking that's absolutely insane. Wow, the battery is also so small. How does it open? There we go. I mean, let's compare batteries with the Phantom. I don't know why I keep getting up. I have everything here. Battery for a Phantom. So in my bags, whenever I have to take extra gear, here, let me just show you this too. Here's a remote for the Phantom. Here's the remote for the Mavic. So when I was trying to fit this into my kayak, it took up so much room. I needed, let me show you the dry bag. This is absolutely ridiculous. This is the only dry bag that I was able to fit the Phantom into. This is a 40-liter dry bag. Look at this thing. I can wear this. The only way I can get this in my kayak and feel that it was safe was using this. ¿Qué tal, Gaby? ¿Cómo estás? Look at this thing. And you know what's the worst part? I'd have to get it into the hatch, then burp it, roll it down, and clip it. So that's just for the drone itself. That was for the drone itself. Then I needed another dry bag for the controller, which is huge, and then another dry bag for all the extra batteries, which are also extremely heavy. Now this thing is the entire drone, which is absolutely incredible. And the battery is not that heavy, and it's tiny. So I have a trip coming up soon. I'm going to be joining Danielle in Mexico, and you can be sure that this is going to go in my bag with me. That's crazy. Okay, let me open the other two boxes. This is already getting to 25 minutes. Let's just open these two and we can call it a night. So guys, same thing as I said before, because I know a lot of times people come in and out. If you'd like to say anything, there's a chat room on the bottom. Just type whatever and we can talk. That's what's so exciting, at least for me, about these live feeds. And it looks like the Wi-Fi extender is actually working. Buenísimo. Bueno, lo vas a ver en julio entonces. Porque obviamente lo voy a llevar a cuando vayamos de campamento. Alright, this feels like it doesn't want to come out. Secondary battery. So look at how much equipment I'm going to have to take now. Or maybe I should get a piece of paper so that everything is dark and you can't really see. How's that? Is that better, contrast-wise? There we go. Battery, drone, there's the remote. And then extra propellers. Which that was never really a problem. The old ones are not that heavy, but they are kind of big. And taking extra propellers always takes a... Ha! Hey, Alan. So see, it actually came in. After all that talk, it's absolutely ridiculous because it said it was in Hong Kong yesterday. And then it made it to New York this morning, and then it got delivered in the afternoon. So yeah, let's tell me details for Jones Beach. Let's see if it can work. Maybe it can work. And yes, Mexico. I'm going to be visiting Daniel in March, and he's going to be taking me to some local spots. So this is going with me for sure. All right, so then these and extra propellers, and I mean you can't really, I don't know if you can tell, but it's freaking tiny. So the last thing I wanted to see is what this is like when you plug it into your phone. All right, I'm doing something wrong. There we go. And then the really funny thing is I haven't updated my DJI app in a really long time on purpose because the Phantom has been working perfectly for so long that I was really, really afraid of screwing something up. But now I need to update it because otherwise this won't function. So that's a good fit. And what's really interesting, for those that don't know, you can control the Mavic with the remote by itself, with the remote and your phone, or with the phone by itself. With the remote, you get 4 miles out of it, which I think is absolutely ludicrous because we're supposed to keep it in line of sight at all times. But the remote does quite a bit of distance. The phone by itself, I don't remember but how far it is, but it's much, much, much shorter. But if you just didn't want to take the remote, you can just use your phone, which is amazing too. And then you can use both of them together so that you can see what you're shooting. So that's it. If you guys have any more questions, please type them into the live chat box, which should be down on the bottom of the screen. And this is one with gesture mode, so you can wave. I don't know about it zooming in on you. I know that you can wave at it and it'll either take a picture or just something. But I care more about being able, one of the really cool things is you can, and it's funny, I keep talking to the chat room instead of the camera. But you can, you on the phone, on the display, you tap on whatever you want it to follow, and it'll actually follow that straight up. Where with the Phantom, you had to set up so many different things and then hope for the best because it had absolutely no way of knowing if it was going to crash into something. One thing to remember, the thing is, when I do videos like this, I've probably watched most videos out there, so I feel really redundant and silly saying some of these things, but I know for a lot of people you might not have seen anything, especially if you mostly watch kayaking videos. But so the Mavic has obstacle avoidance. In the front it has 2 sensors, and then on the bottom it has 2 sensors. So if you're going sideways, if you're moving to the side or you're moving backwards, it'll crash into stuff. So you have to be careful in that sense. But if you are flying autonomously and it's going into something, it'll stop. If it's flying too low, it'll stop. So that right there already helps tremendously with things like hoping I can set it to do something, get in the kayak, and go paddle, and then hopefully let it do its own thing, and then maybe go and auto land on its own, so that we can actually do some more fun stuff, and we don't depend on always having someone having to be back at a beach somewhere, so that and then people can't really go and explore and get nice shots while that's happening. So that's really exciting. Anyway, any last minute questions before we just wrap up? I'm not sure when the first test flight is going to be, but I can't wait to test it out. And the feed seems to be working well, right? It's not lagging at all, right, for you guys? Because it seems, for me, I can only tell the stream health is what they call it, and it seems to be in good conditions the entire time. Last time it was in the red nonstop, and I know for a fact, like, people were telling me that it was lagging and it was cutting out, and hopefully that didn't happen at all, and hopefully you can hear me well as well. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with me for a little while. I'm hoping I can do a couple more of these live feeds so we can interact, chat, and have fun, and every time having some kind of silly reason to turn the camera on. See you next time. Ciao, Gabby.